All right, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Got a couple more people joining, but everybody should be able to be nice and clear on the Zoom. Let me spotlight myself. Boom. We should be good to go. Volume should be good. We are recording and the AI is working. So we are recording. Everything is smooth. Volume is good. So appreciate everybody. Had a 5K to run this morning. So we're not on the Zoom this morning, but we are here this afternoon. I'm sure that this probably worked better for some people as well. I know people go to church in the morning time, so sometimes the sessions can be tough to make it live. So we set it up for you guys good today. We're gonna kick this thing off. So we're doing football. You'll probably hear maybe a little bit of my football in the background, but football and charts getting ready for the week. Give you the rundown of the games right now. Saints and Bucks tied 7-7. Bengals and Bills 14-11. Dolphins and Jets 21-7. Steelers and Ravens 7-3. Colts 7-14, losing to the Jags. Titans winning against the Browns 14-10. Commanders the Commanders losing against the Vikings 14-0. And the Seattle Seahawks and Atlanta Falcons is tied 3-3 in the middle of the second quarter. And it looks like they just blocked a field goal on the Seahawks. So any Seahawks, you guys just blocked the field goal. All right. So that's the rundown for today. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. Oops. 1 second. All right, we're good to go. So let's go ahead and jet into this thing. Start off. All right. So first things first, we got our economic calendar for the week. So the focus point and focal point will be on Federal Reserve Jerome Powell and the Fed. That focus point will be here for us. We are going to see the Federal Reserve interest rate decision, which is going to happen on Wednesday at 2 p.m. So our thoughts going into the week, and you'll get a document that prepares you for the week tonight. Right. Our thoughts going into the week is that the Federal Reserve is going to two things, right? So if the Fed goes ahead and raises rates, keeps rates the same, right? That there may be a slight sell-off by them keeping rates at the same. But if the Federal Reserve ends up keeping promised a rate cut, we do expect the market to surge up. So ultimately, the direction of the market this week will be determined by what the Federal Reserve does, right? So if the Federal Reserve can deliver on what they promised months ago with 3 back half of the year rate cuts, that's what the promise was, right? So the promise was the 3 back half of the year rate cuts. So when we do look at the FOMC interest rate decision, that's going to be the deciding factor this week, right? So if the Fed can give you that rate cut, the market should fly. But if they don't, which is still a strong chance that they remain the same, we don't expect a major dump. We just don't think that will run, right? So also policy updates as far as next year. For those that don't know, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, this is pretty much he's counting his last months in the position that he's held for basically 8 years. So for almost a decade now, Jerome Powell's been in this seat. So his time is coming to an end right now. So that's where the market positioning wise is looking for. Next thing, let's cover the VIX. What I want you guys to focus on with the VIX is 20 this week. The only way we're going to see a massive sell-off on the market is if we get above 20. Currently, right now, the VIX is actually here at 15, right? So the VIX is pretty much let us know that majority of the fear that was baked into here towards the last 2 weeks in November has pretty much left. Now, if you notice on my screen right now, I have the S&P 500 as well as the Invesco QQQ. Both the Invesco QQQ and the S&P 500, both are at a major resistance point. So right here at 685, so at 625, so 685 here on the S&P 500, and then you have 625 on the QQQ. So we have major resistance points here on both of these indexes. So us looking at, the SPY and the QQQ this week, if we could see any more of a move upward, right, it's going to have to be us breaking over, right, breaking over these all-time highs, right? So we're right here at these resistance points. All right, so you should have that information down. So you guys should go in that regard. Got next ticker. We're gonna go through quite a bit of tickers today. 1 second. Let's do this real quick. If everybody can hear me, just put a comment in the chat for me. If everybody can hear me, put a comment in the chat. Just want to make sure everybody can hear. Make sure there's no volume issues. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna cut the chat off now for no distractions. Let me just have everybody's undivided attention. I'm gonna go through the tickers that I want to go through first. And at the back half of class, we'll take some time to get the tickers that maybe you want to look at. But let me just have the floor for at least the next hour here. Very important. Want to make sure nothing's missed. All right, so first ticker on the docket today is going to be Netflix. All right, so ticker NFLX. That'll be the first ticker on the docket here. So last week, we saw that the deal with Warner Bros. Netflix ended up dropping to $100. So I want to put my thesis out here on Netflix just to make sure it's plain and clear. So there's like no questions. I find that a lot of times we'll go over something like 5 times and there still is like questions on something that we've clearly like given the thesis on, right? So my thoughts completely on Netflix. Any ticker that I do today, I'm not just going to give you my thoughts this week, but I'm going to give you my crystal clear thoughts going forward on these companies, right? So the first ticker on the docket is Netflix. So with NFLX, I want you to do 2 things for me. On Netflix right now, what I want you to do is mark off and put on your notes $80, right? $80 a share is a good price for you to get Netflix. So if Netflix comes down to $80, I don't want any questions about it at 80. You now know at 55 to 60, right? 55 to 60 is the price that we would be comfortable paying, right? At $55 to $60 with, just buying it and just waiting on it to recover. If it was to fall to 40, we wouldn't even mind it because we believe that 55, right? That we are going to be able to see from 55 to 60, that be realistically our best price. So I want you guys to put that down on your notes for yourself, right? Here, right? Like I said, very, 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 very important. 55 to 60, right, is a no-brainer price, which would be equivalent, right? To make very, 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 very clear, that would be very equivalent, right, to 550 and 600. So 550 and 600. That is the equivalent, right? So Netflix right to $100, which puts you back at 1,000 a share. So that puts you back at 1,000 a share here on NFLX. Once again, at $80 to me is worth when I say, hey, time to start diving in, right? Time to start diving in, right? So very, 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 very important that I stress that for you guys, all right? So everyone should be clear on that as far as where's my next price targets for. Now let's get into the short term. You understand the long term, let's get into the short term, right? So in the short term area, we're probably gonna, at least to me, maybe go back to 101 to 102 first before pulling back down. I want you to mark off $96. So $96 would be the area. If we get below that $96 mark, you're going to be looking at us coming down, in my opinion, to around that $92 to $94 area. So I'm still short-term bearish on Netflix, guys. I want to make that clear. I'm still short-term bearish on Netflix. So don't come ask me next week if Netflix once again goes up, because like we told you, Netflix is going to make a lower high first. One of the core things that I think sometimes people forget is the market makes lower lows and lower highs. Lower lows lower highs. Once again, I want everyone to put that down. Lower lows, lower highs. And now I want you to put down higher highs and higher lows. Higher highs, higher lows. So I want you to, anytime you look at a chart, right? Lower lows, lower highs, right? Lower lows, lower highs. Anytime that you're sitting here looking at a chart, that's what I want you to review it and look at it for, right? So I think it's super, super duper important. All right. Now, what I'm going to do real quick, two things, just to cover this, just because I know that there's some people that may be missing it. So I don't want anybody to miss anything. Let me switch back over real quick. Anytime we have a Zoom, it's going to be right here in my thoughts. So the Zoom code is always put in the same channel every single time. So my thoughts and breakdowns channel right there. So the Zoom code is in the same spot every single time. So anytime that you get on Zoom, you are going to have the Zoom code come to the exact same spot. All you have to do is click on it, and it takes you right here. All right. So make sure that everybody knows that and is caught up to date with all the Zooms. All those recordings as well are posted right there in the Discord. So just pay attention so you don't miss anything, right? If you end up not coming to class live, the recording will always be posted for you later on, right? If it is a regular class. Some live trading sessions are not going to be posted because the purpose of it is live trading. So if you're watching a live trading recording, you could be getting delayed information. So just keep that in mind for yourself, right? So $94 and $92.75. That's what I want you to put down. Once again, I told you $110, $115 where we were going to see this stock price go. And now it's here. So once it gets down to 80, there should be no questions. And if 55 ever materializes, which I think is highly unlikely, but you never say never, you absolutely know what you should do. So that's enough on Netflix. You should have enough there. There shouldn't be any questions on Netflix going forward. You should be pretty much clear as day on what to expect long-term and short-term. Next thing to cover is going to be Meta. So I want you to pull up Meta this week. I want you to put one number down, and that one number is going to be 680. And that's a level for this week. So last week, Meta had a nice little jolt after hours. It popped up. Everybody was excited. But unless the stock is getting above 680, it will not move this week. So I want you to put that down. 680. If it's not getting above 680, it's going to trade sideways. Or the level where you should be nervous about this week will be 663 and 651. So if we see a break below 653, excuse me, 663 and 651, that's where you should be looking at, right? So 663 and 651 are your downside levels for Meta. Now, long term, I thought that this pullback presented a great opportunity for long-term investors to get in before the next run up. And I do believe the next run would take us above $800 a share. And quite frankly, I think that the next run will take us further than that, right? So Meta Platforms was selling off pretty much since September, right? And sold off from that all-time high, had a rough earnings report actually here in the month of October, and then sold off for pretty much majority of November. But we're back making the gaps to the upside. After 680 is 696, and then 708 and 710. So 680, 696, 708 to 710. All you have to do is put those levels down, act upon it. Now, a lot of questions that came into the METU ETF. This was the ETF we recommended. Best price we thought that we would get would be at 18 to 20 bucks. That never materialized. Once again, as a disclaimer, best prices don't always happen. That's why they're best prices. Some do, which we're excited about. But always keep in mind that a best price is not always going to materialize. For regular ETFs, for solo equities, for leverage ETFs, etc., they're not going to always materialize. So in this case, METU right now is at 34 bucks. Let's say someone said, L, do you think that I should buy this today? Well, tomorrow, right? I would say, nah. I will hold off on it. If you didn't get it at 25, 26, I think you're overpaying for this at any price above 30. My opinion and my thoughts. So I think you're overpaying if you're buying here. So if you didn't get it, it's okay. Just leave it alone. I would not purchase it here. So I just wanted to make that statement so everyone knew. So there was no confusion on what my thoughts were as far as what you should be doing. All right. So just want to make my thoughts clear on that. Next thing, we're going to move over to BTC, Bitcoin. And let's use IBIT, Bitcoin shares ETF. There we go. So let's talk about Bitcoin. Of course, we know Bitcoin moves everything in the cryptocurrency market. So if Bitcoin is going up, usually other cryptos have a good shot and a good chance at going upwards. So when we're looking at BTC, what I would stress is that right now we need to regain above 100K to have some solid momentum to the upside. Now on Bitcoin, my overall price target that I believe we'll see in 2026, so there's no confusion, no nothing when price gets down there. My thoughts on BTC is that we can actually get all the way, right? And I want to stress this, BTC, roughly around 60 to 70K. Like that's the range that I think that we get to next year, but it won't, I want to say this. If Bitcoin comes down to 60K, ladies and gentlemen, it will not sit there for very long. It will likely be one of the largest wicks that you've probably ever seen on a time frame if Bitcoin gets to 60,000, because that's how much people will be salivating for it, trying to pick it up, right? So at 60,000, that's calling for a 33% retracement from where it's at today. I personally do not see Bitcoin going underneath 50K ever again. I've said that for the past 3 months. I'm going to continue to say that. I do not see BTC going below 50. So if you're getting it at 55K, 65K, 70K, right? That is a really good price for yourself, right? So ideally, we're currently here at 91. If we get below 80, we're going to drop straight to 74. So no ifs, ands, buts about it. You should have your alerts. If we can get back above 95, we're going to go back to 100 in the short term. So those are my thoughts on that. Now, as far as IBIT, which is the Bitcoin ETF, I would say roughly around $28 to $35 would be around the perfect price for it. $28 to $35. So roughly back to the August, April, and September 2024 lows. That would be the best price based upon what we're looking at for BTC, expecting them to go there, right? So those are my thoughts on Bitcoin and where we sit at right now, BTC and IBIT ETF, right? Next thing, let's come to Coinbase and ticker CONL, CONL, which is a 2x lever version. You know, we're really spoiled with a lot of these, right? But take these notes down on Coinbase. So Coinbase is one that we know usually tracks the with BTC. It just doesn't guarantee, but it tracks usually around the same amount of time. So when you look at Bitcoin, Steelers just scored for my Steelers fans. Steelers just went up on the Ravens 17-3, right? Kenneth Gainwell. So giving you an update there. We got the games on. So I know you guys are watching. I'm corner and teaching. So it's a beauty you get to do this with you guys today. But Kano, $9 to $12, right? $9 to $12 is going to be your best price. That's your load the boat price for the Coinbase 2x leverage ETF. But check this, right? I don't want you really looking at Coinbase as far as purchasing, honestly, above $200. So my bear case is that Coinbase comes down to 140 to 160 again. That's our extreme bear case. So that would be calling for a 50% retracement. Falcons just scored on the Seahawks 10-3, right? That would be a 50% retracement, right? A 50% retracement on Coinbase, right? So that's what you would want to look at, right? For Kano, $9 to $12, right? $9 to $12 would be ideally perfect, right? $9 to $12. So, yep. Well, excuse me, take that touchdown off the board for the Falcons. Mooney stepped out, right? So when you are looking here, those are my thoughts on Coinbase and Connell. Next one is easy, MicroStrategy. MSTR, and let's get Misty. Remember like the Yield Max ETFs. It's at $7 now. So Misty is at $7. Originally, we thought that $7 would be a pretty decent price. It's still not a bad price, but we think we try to get the best, right? That's the goal. Name of the game is to get the best. So in this case, Misty, which is $7, this is not the best price. Originally, when it was back at 20, we thought 7 would lead us to arguably the best price. But really, the best price isn't really until around $3 to $5 now. So what we're looking for MSTR in the long run, this is a leverage play. So allow these things to play out. We're in a distribution phase on MSTR. So I want to see MicroStrategy come back down to $120 a share, right? $120, $100, like that's ideally what I want to see. I want to see these gains get erased, and I want to see us go to around $100 a share. Worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, what we can see, right, is that MicroStrategy just plummets and gives us, an amazing opportunity to pick this name up, which is a leveraged name. So we got to consider this. There's a number I want you to write down next to MSTR, and that's Bitcoin 74K. To my knowledge and understanding is that if Bitcoin breaks underneath 74K, that would cause an issue for MicroStrategy. Now, I don't view it as a long-term issue because why? I'm a long-term believer in Bitcoin. So that would present a short-term downside move. One thing that we know about the media, right, is that the media tries to spread a lot of nonsense to us, right? They'll spook you out of the position that they're buying. So I can imagine if Bitcoin goes to 74K like we believe it can, MicroStrategy, obviously would come down. I see a couple of people putting 150 in the chat on MSTR for sure. That's a defined level, definitely, that you'll see if you look on Watch now as I added the levels back right there at 152. We're looking for MicroStrategy to pull back there. There's not much to me going to stop MicroStrategy going back underneath 152 back to 120. So I just want to make that known. There's nothing stopping MicroStrategy, just so we're clear, right? So now we have MSTU, which is at roughly right now about $12.13. I think last week it hit a high of about 13 and change, right? It was just at right here at 90 cents, which is equivalent now to $9. So in order for these instruments to stay publicly traded, they sometimes have to do reverse splits in order to do so, right? So this was MSTU because it's a brand new ETF. This was the first time that they've done a reverse split. So if you had 1,000 shares, you now have 100. Or if you had 2,000, you now have 200. You had 1,000, you now have 300, and so forth, right? You get the math, right? So looking here, you just take whatever shares that you had, and you go ahead and you divide that by 10. Pretty easy math, right? So if you had 1,000, divide that by 10, you should be left with 100. And that's the case that you are. MSTU, I want to make sure that this is clear. I want no questions on it. I want to make sure it's super crystal clear and everyone gets what I'm saying. Do not touch MSTU until it gets to $6 to $7 again. So what is that calling for? A 25% drop on MicroStrategy if we're expecting MSTU to drop 50%. Remember, 2x both ways, not just bullish, but also bearish. So I want to set you guys up here the right way. MSTU, we're looking for a move downward, right? And MSTR. We expect, obviously, if MSTR is coming down, we have to expect MST. So, yep. And I just got a quick question here. Someone asked me to give the final score today of the game between the Seahawks and the Falcons, right? I will say this. What's the score? I believe it's 3-6. Yep. I like a 20 to 17 game, but I still like the Seahawks though. I think it'd be more scoring in the second half to answer the person's question. So 20 to 17, I like the Seahawks winning by a field goal. So that's my thoughts, right? Quick update. Majority of the games are going to halftime. We'll do a quick update here. Saints are down 3 points on the Tampa 47, 2-minute warning. You got the Bengals here with 4th and 17, up 10 against the Buffalo Bills, 21-11. Dolphins are up against the 21-7. No surprises there. Steelers up 17-3 against the Ravens, but Ravens are driving a little bit. You got Daniel Jones that might have tore his Achilles. He's out for the rest of the game. Jaguars up 21-10. Titans are up 14-10. You got Vikings and Commanders 14-0. They've already made it to halftime. You got Seattle Seahawks down 6-3 against the Falcons. 1st and 10 with 22 seconds left in the first half. That's your roundabout news. So that's my thoughts. All right. Keep this party going and get this thing rolling. Right. So you should have all of those notes down, but I want to talk about a couple sectors. I want to talk about cybersecurity, CrowdStrike. I want you to put CrowdStrike on your radar. I also want you to put this ticker down, FTNT. If, it's holiday time, holiday season, all of that good stuff. We've had our discussions and conversations about what this holiday season to me and just going forward is about, right? So 2 things that I would say. One with CrowdStrike is you're effectively looking at $1,000 company that's in the genetic makeup right now. It's 500 today. It'll be 700 next year. And then by the end of this decade, it'd be $1,000 a share if they don't split before that, right? Which I don't think they'll do until they at least get above 1,000, but never say never, right? When you're looking at CrowdStrike next year, major profitability things. You also have here FTNT, Fortinet, which I think is a solid auxiliary. Now it's here at $86. I want to stress this: around 55 to 60 bucks should be your best price for FTNT. Where we currently sit at here on CrowdStrike is really only going to give you maybe 20 to 30% max when the pullbacks happen, unless there's something brewing within the market that's causing extreme pain. So I do want to say that with CrowdStrike, this should be even though it's a $500 company, the next drop that occurs and happens, I want you to be a buyer of it. I really have been stressing that is going to hit $1,000 a share. I've been screaming it till I got like no voice left on it. But I want to tell you here now, I want you to pick up CrowdStrike. If there's one thing I want you to take from this live, is I want you to pick up CrowdStrike at these levels, right? 375 to 400. That to me is the max pullback that you're going to get on Crowd. You're not going to get anything more than that, once again, unless a catastrophe happens, right? So only if a catastrophe happens are you going to get a better price, right? FTNT currently right now is at 86 bucks. The best price for FTNT is going to be, and Seahawks just tied at 6-6. We're at half now, right? FTNT, your best price is going to be $55 to $60, right? 55 to 60 bucks. That is going to be your best price on this specific company. Security names. Oh my gosh, touchdown. Come on, touchdown. Oh yeah, it's Shadeur time. Easy money. Let's get it. 17-14. Told y'all we watching this football, baby. Y'all know I'm a Shadeur fan. Easy touchdown. Right? So let's keep this party rolling. That was a good play. Sorry for that distraction. This football, man, it gets to us. Next thing, let's go. Snowflake. I want y'all to put snow down because I was seeing a couple of things I want to make you guys aware of Snowflake. So when it comes to snow, two things that I want you to make you aware of. On snow, right now we're here at 228, right, on Snowflake. Your best price is going to be arguably around 170. Now, to make a couple of things clear on Snowflake, Snowflake is a low floater, but Snowflake is not really profitable yet. This move on Snowflake that we saw since April was based upon hype. I want to be clear about that. That's a hype-based move. That is hype. So for snow, I remember back here in August when they shot from this 190 and we were looking at it. Funny enough, they were closer to 300. Our next year price target on snow is for us to hit 300, right? All the way to 320. But I don't see that happening without a pullback first. But I want you to be a buyer of this pullback on snow. And I want to tell you the levels to be a buyer where and at. So let me come over here to Snowflake. Let me get a solo on snow real quick. There we go. Right? So I want you to be a buyer roughly, because snow, and take these notes down, guys. We're currently at 228, but I want you to take these down. If we break below 218 and 219, Snowflake is coming back now to 205 and then 191. So 218 to 220 is going to be a very, very, very important level for Snowflake. If we break those levels, 205 and then 191. Where do I want you to be a buyer at of Snowflake long term? 190 and then as well 160. So that's the range that I really want you to pick up snow. Long term wise, I want you to pick up right there at that point. Good price to pick up. Good, you get some good value picking the stock up at those levels, right? So Snowflake, getting the stock at those levels, you get some good value, right? So, yep. No questions on that. Should be no questions on Snowflake. Pretty easy, self-explanatory, and made it crystal clear for people. Next thing I want to run through. We're in the month of December, so clock is ticking. I know I pulled AMD up over there, but I want to go through a couple of things real quick and adjust this. So Carvana got added to the S&P 500. So hold on, you won't be able to see it. So here on after hours. So Carvana, just wanted to make this quick note. They have officially completed this cup and handle pattern. They're breaking out over 400 a share. So I want you guys to take a look at that. What's going on, Drebo? Right? Look at that as we break above on Carvana. Look for us to shoot, to my opinion, Carvana has more room to run. We'll probably be pushing towards $500 a share here. It is a lower, so low floater stocks tend to really do good after we see S&P 500 induction. So good day for them on Friday after hours, for them to be able to get added to that. So that's solid for them. Next thing I want to go over is NVO. I get questions about NVO almost every day, and I'm still wondering as to why. So I want to make sure I make this super, super, super duper clear. NVO is back here in demand, back to 2022 prices. So NVO, this is the time that you buy NVO, you sit back, you wait. We're not in NVO to take off by any means necessary. We're not expecting them, right, to take off tomorrow, right? We are anticipating that they take off over a period of time. So I want to stress that with NVO, right? Stop looking at things short-sighted. We get spoiled by the market running and giving us, these major moves sometimes in these reversals back so fast. But you think about it. What's the main thing that I always hear? I'm going to take this jacket off real quick. The main thing that I always hear from people is, I wish I bought more, or I wish I could have bought more. What I want people to do is stop waiting until things hit all-time highs, and then you start purchasing the name that you should have already purchased before it 3 or 4x. There was something that I said in the past 2 to 3 months, and I used names like RGTI. I used names like OKLO. I used a lot of the fan favorite names this year as just good examples. And I kept telling people, a lot of times you guys are waiting for Twitter to tell you to buy. That's the worst thing in the world. And I seen someone that came in and I was on Twitter and I was looking, and I just happened to come across a post from a very knowledgeable individual. And I said, yo, this is exactly what I've been saying to the team. You're getting excited about a stock that has no value to the S&P 500, no value to the NASDAQ when it falls 50%. And it could fall another 100% realistically, right? And that's the thing. We get into these, what's the hot tickers? What's the cute tickers? The point that I made mention is that you can see certain stocks that can outperform the overall indices for a short period of time. But eventually reality has to kick in. A stock can have a good 6-month run, could go on a run for a year. But eventually, when it comes time for them earnings, it's going to get cleaned up. There's been a lot of the next thises, right? There's been a lot of the next thises. So as I just wrap up NVO, I want you to understand is that the names that should be in are probably trading sideways right now, and no one's really talking about them. That's the best time to buy any company, not when their name is in everyone's mouth. So there's been a few companies like RGTI, Riggedy Computing, which I'm not necessarily knocking. I want to make that clear. But price at which you pay, and I'll come back to AMD later, right? I just want to make sure that this is super clear. Pick Jets got issues, boy. Sorry, Jets fans. I'm sorry for that. I know we got some Jets fans on here. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, right? So IREN, let me cover them. IREN Limited. I'm not buying a ticker that's up from July from $5, definitely not to $80, and you're damn sure I ain't buying it at $40. RGTI, notice that a lot of these names had these major moves in a month, and then everyone's talking about them. This is the future, quantum computing, and all of this AI, all of this stuff is cute and good, right? You know, you got OpenAI, which is not publicly traded yet. But you remember, everyone was saying OpenAI got all the sauce, but then Google comes out with their thing, and then people step back and say, oh, reality's kicked in. So I just want to remind people that, remember, fintech was the future. Remember, cannabis was the future. Remember, your clean energy stocks, your NEOs, your XPVs, your Lucid Motors, your Rivians, all of those, right? Names, your charge points, your fuel cells, right? And these are names that some people may know and some people may not. For the most part, for the people that probably don't know the names, they weren't probably looking at the market at the time. But at one point in time, the 6 names that I just gave you or rattled off were all names that people were saying were the future. Your PayPals, your XYZs, right? Which is now Square, the future, the future, the future. And you start to hear those things about your tickers. And that's when it's usually time to turn the other way and say, you know what? Let me not even play around. Right? I told people once again, do not play around with getting into these hype beast investment names. This is the worst thing that you can do, is putting your money into tickers that have already 5 to 10x and they don't have any requisite earnings. That's the major mistakes that I see a lot of people make when it comes to investing in the market, is you're looking for a cheap price but no value. Difference of being able to understand what you're paying for. And I think that's the danger, right? Is when you just keep putting up money in investments, but you don't know what the value is. You say, oh, well, this is just a cute ticker, or it has a nice ticker name, and this is a good price. You know, you think it's a good price until you don't really peel back the business. So IREN, RGTI, I got nothing against these companies, but your money would be far better serving you somewhere else. So don't run away from putting your money in the top valuable investments because of price. And you start to say, well, I'm just going to keep my money in these low cost tickers, but then you really don't get no value for them. Right? So just my thoughts in that regard. Now I want to give you a couple things here. 1 second. Let me do this. And Palantir on this side. But I don't need them quite yet. I need another ticker. Ticker GEB. So I just want to give you this particular, hold on one second. Let me go to the weekly time frame. Perfect. I want to show you something on GEV. And the reason why I want to show you it is because GEV has a high likelihood, a high probability of breaking out. I'm not going to just say this week or anything like that, but I'm going to say here over the next few weeks and months leading up, we have a massive bull flag pattern here on ticker GEV. So when you do look at GEV, massive bull flag, where we've been consolidating what month? That was since July. So I want you to put this level down on your notes. This level is going to be, oh, Jada Daniels. No. Made a bad play. Sorry, Commander fans. So 6, and he's hurt again. No. So you got a bull flag pattern here on the weekly time frame, right? So GEV, bull flag. So when you're looking at GEV, bull flag, I think this is one likely to trend upward. So if you're looking at some option plays on this, you're definitely going to have to put a few months worth of time on it. I want to stress that. But over this 674, we're going to $700 a share. But I wanted to make this mention. You had a nice week. The past 2 weeks have been decent weeks, but we expect price to continue to move upward, right? So bullish in that regard on this ticker, GEV, bullish to the upside, right? So GEV, bullish to the upside here on GEV. So you got a bullish flag pattern here on the weekly time frame. So that's a bull flag on the weekly. Should have that down on your notes. Above 674, we are going to fly to the upside. Fly to the upside, ladies and gentlemen. So put that down for yourself. So you have those notes there. Go back to the other side. Next, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of sleepers into next year. So I want to go over a couple of these sleepers into next year. Stocks that I think will be on the rise over, and some will be smaller and some will be larger. So we will give you guys some balance here. So the stock that we want to do first is going to be, we want you to actively buy these tickers. One would be Lyft. So we're going to give you a spoiler, not a prediction. So we want you to take this note down. Once again, we don't really like to do predictions. We want to give you spoilers, right? So spoilers. What's the spoiler here? Spoiler alert. So what's the spoiler alert right here? The spoiler alert is that Lyft is going to go to $32 next year. $32. Uh-oh. Sorry, Cleve. Seahawks just took a kickoff back in the third quarter, 13-6. Well, sorry about that. Well, I did give you guys my prediction on that. So Seahawks will win that game. $32.65. Right? $32.65 there. That's going to be your target next year for Lyft. Right? I would suggest if you're looking at leaps, cool. Or shares only. Leaps or shares. Next ticker is TTD. Right? So when you do take a look at TTD, I would say right here at 50, which would be right here at $40. It broke underneath 50. But if you notice here on TTD, the past 5 years, this has been a perfect spot to buy, right? TTD, right? So this is a perfect spot. And I'm getting text messages about people's teams. So I'm sorry, I'm going to stop here. But TTD right there, $40. This has been a perfect spot. If you look the past 5 years on this weekly time frame and you zoom out, name me a better price that you've gotten in the 5 years, and you can't. So once again, to me, from a price demand level, right? This is a super, 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 super duper, right? Good price to get for the trade desk. So when I mentioned it, I just wanted to add content and add value as to why. Price being in demand, so it makes a ton of sense for you to pick up the equity at this round, right? Next thing we're gonna cover is UNH. I'm gonna give you best price just like right off the bat, 240 to 260. I feel as if any pullback, which I think it'll be hard, is I don't think people are going to be selling TTD. I'm assuming selling UNH anymore, right? Too much. I don't expect too much selling. If it gets underneath 300, 289, 272, write these levels down, and 250. Ideally, I want you to pick this up within a range, 240, 260, 230. And that's only if we see a major pullback. Once again, you should never be afraid of major pullbacks in the market because they give you the opportunity to get the best stocks at some of the best you're going to get. If you think back to it, if we changed our psychology and instead of February and March, where most people were panicking, here in this community, we were actively buying. A lot of the names that we talk about today, we actively bought those tickers. And then you see the success level in the past 6 months, but the success only usually happens after a major run, right? So this is what I'll say, right? After a major run, the success usually only happens after a major run. So those are my thoughts in regard, right? Major runs, right? That we see. So everyone gets happy when the stock market runs for 6 months, but when it pulls back for 2 to 3 months, everyone's upset, right? But that is where you have true discounts. I want to make this clear. Buying at the top does not lead to long-term success, right? Buying at the top does not lead to long-term success. So I want to stress that again. Buying at the top does not lead to long-term success. So super important that I make that clear. And, I stress that here today for you guys, so you guys understand the importance of it. All right. Next thing. 1 second. Pull this up. Bill's driving. All right, we're good to go. I'm going to give you guys $1,000 ticker. Well, funny enough, it already technically hit $1,000 because they've done a split. But I want to give you guys ISRG. Remember, we were speaking about ISRG throughout the year. ISRG is currently right now 575. Intuitive Surgical. Take this down. Last time when they split, I have to check back on my notes, but I want to say it was around like $900, and they did like a 3-to-1 split, if I'm not mistaken. I have to check back on that, but I know for a fact they done a split because they almost hit $1,000 before. Nonetheless, right now, when you look at ISRG and you look at the shares outstanding, they have 354 million shares outstanding. So ISRG, to me, touchdown Buffalo Bills, Dalton Kincaid, 21-18. So when you look here, 616, right? 616 is going to be your all-time high level. What I like about this, forward P is lower than the trailing, which is good. Very profitable. Quarterly earnings growth of 24. They virtually don't really have any debt. They have a ton of cash, so they're able to make pivots and weather any storm that may come their way. So we're grateful for them. I think ISRG with this low amount of shares outstanding, not extremely low. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. On that. I'm not even going to update on what just happened because some people will be upset at me, but that was a bad play. Bad play. Nonetheless, ISRG, $1,000 a share. I want you to put that down on your notes today. ISRG, $1,000 a share. So you got two $500 tickers and you got a $600 ticker too. that all three of those, GEV, CrowdStrike, and ISRG, will all be $1,000 companies. So to no surprise, those are your next $1,000 companies. ISRG, right? Very, 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 very important, right? To take that down in these notes. So you got your $1,000 companies, ISRG, GEV, right? Two names, solid business models, and CrowdStrike, which will become consistently profitable within the next 12 months here. That will be the reason that they catapult to $1,000 a share. So you should have that down. We're gonna do questions here soon, so just stick with me. I'm working my way through the things that I want to go over. We're gonna take questions, and yeah, we'll open the floor up for all of that good stuff. All right. Next thing I want to go over is the ARK ETF, which is currently at $81. Yep, $81.91. So that is where we have here right now, $81.91. So on the ARK, ARKK, what date was that? Just so I speak, Friday, November 21st. We dropped to 71. So we're up $10 on the ARK in about 10 sessions, almost 10 sessions. So the ARK has ran back to the upside. Very, very, very good, right, for us to see, right? And what I would definitely want to stress is when we do see here on the ARK, the next level is at 84. Obviously, the biggest tickers in the ARK, one is to pull up. Now it's time for you. There we go. Palantir. So let me pull you up. Palantir is trying to get back. So watch 188. As well as on Palantir, I want you to watch 186 and 188. Those are your two levels on Palantir. And we can see Palantir break up, plus the addition of Tesla, which we'll pull up here in a second. If Tesla breaks 460, it's going to run all the way over to 468 and 474. So that's important for me to note. And the ARK can go back to 90. So on any bullish run side, we know that rate cut potentially this week. I don't think there's no surprise. If the rate cut happens, what stocks are going up? Your risky businesses are going to the upside, right? So 460 and 470. Want you to look at that, right? So 460, 470. How do you know? Use your ETF.com. I find it that we keep referring these same resources, but people is not using their resources. You don't know what stocks belong to what ETF? Perfect. Oh my gosh, get his ass out the game. He's done. So you need ARKK. You want to find the details, go to holdings. And now when you go to holdings, you'll see what? Tesla, Coinbase, CRISPR, which had a good day on Friday, Tempest AI, Roku, Shopify, Robinhood, Roblox, Palantir. There she goes. Then you got AMD, Beam Therapeutics after that. So those are your stocks within the ARK ETF that can really run. Next names, we got to cover the semiconductor names. We're going to start off with AMD. We're going to go through AMD and MU, TSM, all that boys. Let me pull up TSM real quick. Taiwan Semiconductor. Right now, if you look on the weekly time frame, Taiwan has been building pretty much like a broken a chopped up, that's what I'll call it, like a chopped up bull flag. So you notice it hasn't really drawn down below 274, but also here it briefly went there and got to 267. But I would just stress to everyone here, oh my gosh, all right, to really watch TSM movement wise. Still a fairly valued company here. Then you also have AMD. So a lot of people ask my thoughts on AMD. So I want to say this so I'm clear about it. Oh my gosh, he dropped the ball. Right? So I'm clear about this. AMD, you should not be buying this name above 200. And I want to stress that so importantly. I know it's easy to get caught googly eyed by these tickers. Listen, guys, if I was you and I had no exposure into AMD, I would arguably not touch this name until we came back down to $150. It is too much frothiness that's within this ticker. I don't want people getting caught buying names that no business buying, not at these levels. How unfair would it be for me to come in, recommend a ticker that we know has came from 80, 90, $100 and is now sitting, peaked out at 266, here at 217 without a pullback. So to me, this is not the time to go buying in the semiconductor space. This is not the time. This is not the time to go, and you're hearing me say this now. This serves as the same, what's today's date? December 7th. I believe it was last year, right? December 11th, if my dates are correct. I posted an article about why I was saying that the semiconductor industry will fall. So it's funny that literally today, when I do look at, hold on one second. All right. So when I do look at this specific time, I would definitely tell people, I would say to make sure I am not bullish on the semiconductor space right now, but I'm also not extremely bearish. I want to make that clear as day. I'm also not extremely bearish, right? To me, I'm not extremely bearish. I do want to stress that, right? I just think that we're overvalued. And so I would definitely, like I said, make sure that you really, in all hindsight, make sure to not overdo it, right? So I would not be a buyer of AMD nor TSM right now, funny enough. TSM, I would want them to pull back before I bought. AMD, you'll get my price list on where I want you to buy. So I want you to stop focusing on paying premium dollars and focus on getting discounted prices. Don't wait until your tickers go ahead and 10x and then you think about buying it. So I know a lot of people are going to ask me about NVIDIA, because now people are going to ask and say, yo, El, so what's your thoughts on NVIDIA? I wouldn't touch NVIDIA if I was you. Buying NVIDIA, and I'm going to say this. You guys know how I like to do. I'm not going to say that it's going to happen next week, but I'm going to say this. NVIDIA is going to give you an opportunity to get it at 120 to 130. The question is, are you going to be ready for it? Oh, my God. Sorry, guys. I got to talk about this. Sorry, guys. My boy Jackson Smith just scored. I'm an Ohio State fan. Yes, we took an L last night, but one of our representatives just did the Falcons dirty, so I'm happy about that. I'm sorry. I know I'm going to get some messages about that, but I do have to announce that my guy just scored. So feeling good on that. Back to NVIDIA, though. NVIDIA 120 to 140, right? 120 to 140 ideally will be where I say to look. Now, what makes me say this? Let me get into the why, right? Because you're going to listen to other places that's going to tell you that this is a good time to get into NVIDIA. This is not a good time to get into NVIDIA. And let me go solo screen real quick and hide my lines. So when you look here, NVIDIA, I would like to see us come back down here to these May levels, ideally, right? So I want to see us get back down here to these May levels, ideally. So another $60 drop. So you think about that. NVIDIA's at $180. So you're looking at about a 33% retracement. That's the lowest, in my opinion, I see NVIDIA going based upon what they're earning now. I like this name, once again, at those prices, right? For someone that's saying, hey, am I nervous on NVIDIA? No, it's not a bad thing, but I think this would be a good pullback. You can have a good pullback, and that's what I believe that you have here, right? You have a good pullback, right? So a good pullback there on NVIDIA. So those are my thoughts on NVDA. Good pullback. Yeah. Any questions? Questions. We're going to get questions here in a second. But then start to get them ready, start to type them up, because we're going to have your answers for your questions. So NVIDIA, there you have it there. Let's talk SMH now. We're currently at 364. So my spot now, say for if someone was looking to get into the SMH ETF, no, it's not 140, 160. That's not going to happen. I'll tell you that much. The spot though that you could get, considering that we're due for a sizable pullback, I want to make that clear. I'm going on record saying that the semiconductor space will have a pullback first before it makes these, before we see this big move, all-time move that we're going to see. So I expect a nice, decent, sizable pullback, right? So SMH, ideally the prices that you will want to pick up this ETF is right here around 260 to 280. 260 to 280 would be ideally where you would want to pick this ETF up. Now, ETFs don't move fast unless the stocks holding them move fast. So if NVIDIA comes down to 120, 130, you also understand that AMD will be coming down. Also, there's a stock that that everyone already knows about, but I want to go on record saying this now. Broadcom is going to go to $1,000 again. I'm just telling you this now. I'm not saying that happens next year either. So don't say L said in 2020. I didn't say that. What I'm telling you is that Broadcom is going to go to $1,000 again. The way that the business has been churning and running, ticker AVGO, I'm going to give you guys the levels that you want to pick this name up at, and that's 270 to 280. Last time, the best price was 140 to 160. If you notice that the best prices are getting moved up, I want you to pay attention to that. Because think about it, these businesses are only getting better. And that's why discounts don't last long. So you want to be a buyer of pullbacks on quality names. So this is why when the RGTIs and all of that garbage gets brought up to me, I'm like, yo, we still got bona fide top plays within the market that are sitting here looking really, 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 really good. And so in this case, AVG is still to me, it's about, once again, price that you pay. So don't buy it today, because I'm telling you here now, the semiconductor industry is going to see at least in my opinion, right, anywhere from a 25 to 35% pullback on majority of the names. So I'm just telling you here now, right? I'm just telling you here now. I'm just fair warning you right now that this is going to be the place. I just want to stress this to you guys so you guys can see this here, right? Super, super, super duper important. So don't get caught, to me, in the short-term noise, right? Don't get caught in the short-term noise. Very, 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 very important. So those are my thoughts in that regard. Very, 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 very important. So that's my thoughts. All right. Questions, questions, questions. Get them ready, because we're about to come to the questions here in a second. So put that down, 25 to 35%. That's a discount, because think about it. You go to the store and you see a discount, right? You see an item that's to 35%. Your card is flying out of your wallet because you like, oh shoot, this is a real discount. You're not even playing around with it. You like, yo, this is a real, true, real discount, right? So those are my thoughts in that regard. Very, 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 very important to pay attention to. So, yep. Any other questions? Get them ready, because we're going to open up the floor here at 3 o'clock for questions. So we got 2 more minutes. Get them ready, because we're going to get it rolling. Last thing I'll say, as far as I'm rest this voice a little bit. I've been talking too much, right? So you got, hold on, 1 second. Oh yeah, get them down. Yep. Enough of that. Thank you. All right, so FOMC, Federal Reserve interest rate decision this week, our last meeting, right, that we had, we did get the slash of the 25 basis points. We're currently at 3.75. What people want to know is, can the Fed take rates underneath 3% next year? That's the main question that's being had. Can the Fed take rates underneath 3% next year? That's the main question being asked right now. So, yep. Main question being asked. Yep. All right, we're gonna open up the floor for questions. Get your questions in. Uh, see, cut these notes on questions, questions, questions. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. All right. Questions, questions, questions. Now's the time. Where do I see Microsoft heading in comparison to Amazon? In comparison to who is that? Google and Amazon? Yeah. Can you? Yeah, the replay is gonna get put just like any other time. We got you on that. The price to get SMH is 260 to 280. I'll give you my thoughts on Lulu. Let me get Microsoft real quick. So as far as Microsoft in comparison to Google and Amazon, so two things right now. Let me pull up MSFT real quick and show you their chart. So this is actually a good thing that Microsoft paused for a second because it was just running too much, too fast. Just to put this into perspective, we went from 350 to 555. That was too much, too fast. So a sweet spot to me, I would be watching this trend line. Like I would like a 10 to 15% pullback. I think you should be a buyer of 10 to 15% pullback on that level of Microsoft. My any chance on Lyft going to the 19s again? I think if we reject here at 22, then yes, you can see a pullback to 19. Correct. I would stress, definitely make sure, because I see you asked that question, definitely make sure that you are taking a look at your higher time frames. But yeah, I would say 30, 32. 32 is my target for 2026. That's my 2026 target. It's 32. So yeah. Uh-oh, 20 to 6. Sorry, guys. Oh man. Oh man. Sorry, Falcons fans. I'm sorry. I just seen another bad play. Oh man. It's gonna be a rough day for them. 20 to 6 already. All right. So MSFT, you got 456. Put that down. 450, 443. Questions, questions, questions. Keep them rolling. Coming in. So yep. Please tell me again. MVO is a good price to buy right now. So anything here in the 40 range is a good price for you to get. So yep. Lululemon, I'm glad you asked about that. That was the ticker that I was forgetting about. This is the best price you've gotten in 5 years to get Lululemon, right? So when you take a look at Lulu, we're down to level we haven't seen since 2020, 2019. So we already covered MicroStrategy. You can watch the recording for that, right? We went deep on MicroStrategy as far as coverage today. As far as Lululemon, very, very affordable company from the standpoint of where they're at PDE wise. I think it's a really good price. Ideally, I thought maybe you might get it to go down to 120. If you notice on the chart, as I add the levels back, we never broke underneath. We never actually got back underneath this 150 area. So I was looking and say, hey, maybe we can go back to 120. That just never materialized. Like I said, you don't always get best prices. So that's what I want to say. As far as Lulu, though, this is a good spot to buy in my opinion, long-term wise. As far as short term, it's not really a short-term tradable ticker. Like it doesn't move every day. So yeah. Upstart, we'll get that. Google, we'll get that. Yeah, we'll get that for you. Upstart, Google, MU, we'll get that. As far as for Google right now, as you can see, it bounced off this trend line. And hold on one second. Let me pull up Google on this side. I don't have a chart on the other side. Google probably just trades sideways, honestly, until it breaks out higher. So with Google, I would say that where we're looking at right now, you're looking at a bull flag pattern developing here on Google. So break over 328 will break the top of the flag and Google will push higher. In the chance it breaks downward underneath 315, like I said on last watch list, a break underneath 315, you're going to be looking at a move back down to 306. So that's my thoughts on the technical perspective. So yeah, we already covered Tesla already, so you probably missed it. We'll cover APP, Upstart, MU, get UPST, MU, we'll move on. Upstart came down to about, what was that? Yeah, it was $35. I saw that. 35 after the TTD, right? 30 and $35 have always been kind of really a good price to get it at. It does drop to 20 from time to time, and 20 would ideally be the perfect price. My personal opinion, I would say don't buy Upstart right now. I would wait for more of a pullback. If you were able to get 30 or 35, again, that's the price that you want to buy in at. I think you would be overpaying for a loss-making business here. So those are just my thoughts. Micron Technology, which do you still recommend that Fred McAllen book to study? Yes. Excuse me for my voice. Also, I would recommend this book, How Countries Go Broke, The Big Cycle. It's a very good book and read right here. I think especially as far as economic data wise and understanding monetary policy as well, I think this is a really good book that you can read. So those are my thoughts. MU has earnings this week as well. While we're getting companies that have earnings, get Oracle. Oracle, 217 right now. Oracle, last time Oracle shot up $100. Where we at? Almost $100 off their earnings report. So Oracle's going to go ahead and report. So let me give you the floor level this week, which would be 197 and 191. So if Oracle pulls back, it'll be below those levels, right? On the upside, though, if Oracle cracks through 220, it's going to go back to 233. So those are my thoughts there. MU, a rejection at 240 can bring you right back down to 224. Underneath 224, drop to 214 and 206. Over 240, you're going to see a move to 250 and then 256. Those are your levels this week for MU and Oracle. So we just did those side by side next to each other. So it just makes it. We explained, I think there was a question about a reverse split. We explained that in the beginning, but we'll do it again here now. Let's get Boyle. So Boyle is going to continue to boil right now. So this is why you got to buy. This is what one of the notes that I made when I said, don't wait and something takes off and text me and ask me, is it too late? Because like either I'm just going to tell you no, or I may not even respond. And it's not out of trying to be mean, but it's just the reality. A lot of times we wait until the things that I said to buy for 5-6 months, just like MVO. Let MVO go to $70. Ask me, should we be buying MVO? I'm just going to probably just shut the Zoom down. Boyle is that same situation. I told people about Boyle and said, hey, during the months of August, September, and October, accumulate those from those positions. November to run. November it trickled up a little bit. Here in December so far, we've seen a nice move upward, right? So we have seen a nice move upward here in December so far. The first target is $50. So I know some people got a few thousand shares, some people got a couple hundred, right? Just depending on how much you put into it. What I would stress here with, right, Boyle is that first TP to take about 25 to 50% of your position off the table. Once again, it depends on your risk tolerance. If you have a high risk tolerance, you're probably only going to take 25. If you have a lower risk tolerance, what are you going to do? You're going to probably take 50 just to lock in the bag. After that, 63. I don't see us hitting 89. That's just my opinion. So I do want to put that out there. I don't see us hitting it. I think there's probably a 15 to 20%. So I think it's slim chances for us to actually go ahead and hit it, right? What I will say, though, is that in between, if you decide at 63, you're going to let it all go, I'm not mad at you. You at least got 100% return. This is an ETF that tends to move very fast. Like I mentioned, it's going to have 10 to 15% type days. That is what's going to happen. So here right now, Boyle in a great spot, right, to continue to run. If I was someone new right now, would I be buying this thing? Please do not. Please do not. Yep. Yep. 63 to 89, 75. Right there in the middle. Get him down. Get him. Mm-mm. Path. Path is in the accumulation phase. Ideally, it won't break out of this phase until we get above 28 bucks. So it is within an accumulation phase. It's been that way since 2022, like most tickers that fallen. So Path, I have to check a couple things on them, but I could just tell you from what I know off first glance and previously, this is a company that has a ways to go, as far as recovery. So those are my thoughts on this. Not a consistent, profitable business right now. So, yep. I'll get you Okta, and I think we had a question on Disney. Last call for questions here, 3:15. Told you guys we'll wrap this thing up right around the fourth quarter mark. Majority of the game, some of the games about to start hitting the fourth quarter. Last call for questions. With Okta, I would say with Okta, we hit a 52-week low price last week. With Okta, to me, I would say roughly around 40 to 50 bucks. Okta just has a up and down, one quarter winning, next quarter losing. So they just really haven't been able to be consistent. And that's the major thing that's been holding Okta back. So until Okta can actually be consistent, I think we're going to continue to see this trend and this flow. So Okta has to figure out a way to be consistently profitable. They haven't been able to figure that out. So those are my thoughts on OKTA, Okta. Yeah. What's your thoughts on a reverse split on the options chain? I don't really play like stock options, any equities that do any reverse splits anyway. So that really wouldn't apply to me. So like I don't trade options on those names anyway. So those are my thoughts. Like I really don't trade. So I don't really have much of an opinion on it because I don't trade options on those names. Thoughts on Circle and Call. So those are going to be our last two tickers. Circle Internet Group, currently at 85. I still remain where I would not touch this stock. I know some people see it bounced off of 65. I would still not touch this stock until it got less than $50. And I know some people say, well, a little bit of distance away, right? But I want to stress this to you guys. Do not play around and put your money into these equities, right? And these new IPOs, I'll just tell you from experience, it takes a while for them to actually churn. You got some IPOs that 5 years later is just, coming around to actually hitting some of the top line levels that it was looking to do previously before. So Circle Internet Group sub 50 would be attractive. Anything over that, I wouldn't pay for this business. Costco, last ticker today, ticker cost. Right now, we're sitting right here at 94. We have a level here at 884 and 868. Below that, it goes to 841. So if cost can figure out a way to sell below that level, that 841 level would be very interesting. So those are my thoughts on cost, right? Ticker cost, COST, right? COST. Those are my thoughts on it. Short-term bearish, long-term bullish. But definitely in the short term, it looks like it can come down for cost. It's just people picking up CoreWeave and Circle Group. They came up because the rest of the market, especially the high risky assets, started to see a move. So, yep. Last comments. No more. We done with questions for now, but last comments. Datadog, DDOG will do this one. This will be our final one. Ticker wise, Datadog has not same what company? It's kind of up and down like Okta, right? Like Datadog is not shown to be consistently profitable. That's why Datadog is not a $300 company. They very well could be if they could show to be more consistent, right? If Datadog could have been more consistent, they would be a $300 company, but they have not been able to actually be consistent. So let me check over here on YouTube. Let me see. Okay. Is Meta at a good level to buy, or did I miss the opportunity? That'll be it. Meta to me is still at a good level to buy, not a great, but a good one. I wouldn't consider this to be a great area. Great area to me would be around 440 to 470. That's my thoughts on a great area for Meta. But you don't always get great prices. Once again, you don't always get great prices, but you can get good prices. So my thing is that I told people to expect anywhere in between a 25 to 35% pullback on the semiconductor names. You're right. I said you don't have to adjust your volume, nothing like that. Say that. So everything that I said today has been documented. It will be posted for replay. As well, I will create a guide for a lot of the information that I stated here today. So I appreciate you guys for being on this Zoom and being active. I know we got a ton of people here. So I'll post the remaining times for the rest of the week. We'll continue to get busy. It's 3:15. So as promised, I'll get you guys off of here. If anything pops off tonight with the futures, then we may pop up a class or something like that, but I don't project that. I don't have any projections for that. So I think we'll be A-okay. But hopefully today's session was informative, and hopefully that you enjoyed this afternoon session. I know a lot of times we do the watch list during the morning. So I'm just telling you guys here now, I created this as a warning shot. I do anticipate and expect that we are going to see a move downward, right? So move downward on the semiconductor industry. So I appreciate you guys. And yeah, we'll wrap this thing up here for now. You can stick around my live. I may answer a few questions. I'll keep the live up for a few more moments. But other than that, I'm going to shut the Zoom down so we can go ahead and at least get the recording out as fast as possible. So I appreciate y'all. We'll talk soon.